Hello, everybody. Thank you all so much for listening to Meaningless. I just wanted to announce before this episode that we have a Twitter account or X account, whatever you want to call it. We are at Meaningless Pod, all one word, MEMINGLESSPOD. So if you could follow us on there, let's see if we can get to like maybe 3,000 follows or something, maybe close to it. That would be awesome. Thank you all again so much for listening. Bobby.
Yo.
Bobbington.
Up.
Miss Bob Schneider.
You can do it.
I have a meme for you to look at, and I probably should have saved the Bob Schneider thing because today I'm seeing a lot of memes about him. But I have a meme for you to look at, and I would like you to explain it
I'll do my best
to our audience.
All right. Let's see. We got a cartoon here. Is this a Sega Dreamcast? Is that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So the Sega Dreamcast is speaking here. He's got a couple of speech bubbles. And the first one says, "Oh boy, I sure love being a Dreamcast in Brazil." And the second bubble says, "Nothing bad ever happens in Brazil."
All right.
Little Sonic game there next to him.
So this one was brand new to me.
Okay.
I saw it in the wild, like most of these memes, because I was for a while like searching for memes,
Okay.
on like Reddit boards and things like that people's family were sharing and stuff, just some nonsense to cover. But lately, like almost everything that we've covered has been something I stumbled across in the wild. The reason why I stopped using some of the pages that I was using to learn about or to find memes to dispel is that a lot of it was stuff that people were just posting to become popular on whatever thing they were on.
Mm-hmm.
And they were posting things that they already knew were easy to debunk or already knew had a good backlash to it. So they're trying to go viral, so they're putting out stuff that everybody already knows about.
Right.
In this case, a lot of people do know about this story, but I did not, and I am going to regale you with a tale.
All right. Yeah, I don't know what's going on in Brazil, so I'm excited to hear about it.
In order to truly understand the incredible story behind this meme, I want you to guess how far back in internet history we have to go to find the post.
95.
95. No. No. So anyway, this fabled story was posted online 23 years ago. And it's crazy to think that we can go back that far and still find just crazy shit that people are still talking about.
Yeah.
I just learned I just saw this meme last week,
Oh, wow.
And when I looked into it, I was like, holy shit, I've got to do an episode.
Yeah.
First, we're going to go back in time to May 21st, 1998, Tokyo, Japan. The Sega Dreamcast was finally revealed.
Okay.
A console ahead of its time. It had internet access, incredible graphics, and could play games nearly identical to their arcade versions. But most importantly, it was incredibly easy to pirate games. And that brings us to our story.
All right.
We're in Brazil, and a 13-year-old boy named Leonan has just arrived home to an angry mother.
Mm.
She's sitting with Leonard's Sega Dreamcast on her lap, looking, as Leonan puts it, like a general.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, that's when
you
you know you're in fucking trouble.
Yeah.
All right? So Leonan's in trouble, and he knows it just by looking at her.
Mm.
Now, the Dreamcast in our meme was wrong.
Okay.
Because something bad did happen in Brazil.
Yeah, it looked like a happy little Dreamcast there.
Yeah, it sure did. And it might have been broken in more than one way.
Mm.
So the Dreamcast was broken. And controlling for inflation and converting to US dollars, his mother had paid more than $500 for this thing.
Oof.
For Leonard's 13th birthday. And that was a month prior
Okay.
to this event.
Uh-oh.
It was actually less than a month. So she begins to scream at her son, appalled that he would spill coffee and milk in this very expensive gift she got him. What's worse is that while the Dreamcast was still under warranty at the time, the warranty didn't cover spills like this.
Yeah.
Now, Leonon insists to his mother that he did not do this, but she's not buying it. Leonon was actually responsible for the broken Dreamcast, which is why he froze when he saw her with it, and his legs would not stop feeling shaky. He knew he was in trouble.
Yeah.
But there's more to his nervousness than some spilt coffee. We know the details because Leonon confided in an online forum. Now, this had to be translated from Portuguese, and some of the translation is very odd, but I read one Brazilian's explanation as to why translating this story isn't simple, and that's because the story was written exactly how a frantic, panicky 13-year-old desperate for help would write. He also confided in some friends at school, and after telling them the story, the full story, it earned him the nickname Gonza Guinha, or Gonza Guinha. This is after a famous Brazilian musician, which, before I explain this nickname, we have to understand how the Dreamcast got ruined. Leonon was playing a pirated version of Crazy Taxi, and decided to change games. In order to play his pirated games, he had to run a boot-up disc. So, he opens up the console and takes out Crazy Taxi. Before he gets the boot-up disc, his family ends up leaving the house, and suddenly he's home alone. Being a 13-year-old boy, he decides it's a great chance to go to a porn site.
Sure.
When he's about to arrive, he realizes he doesn't want to make a mess of the computer or his keyboard. Thinking quickly with his adolescent brain, he turns left just in time to fully violate his open Dreamcast.
Oh. That's a terrible thing to do to your console. Give a sock, man.
So his mother was wrong when she said coffee and milk.
All right.
So it's not coffee and milk that has crusted over the lens in this Dreamcast. Which I would say Leonon is lucky that this is what she thinks.
She's going to be way more pissed if she figures out what really happened.
Well, the problem is, at the time, Leonon is suspicious that his mother knew what it actually was, because she complained about the smell inside the Dreamcast, and as Leonon puts it, she knows that smell. She definitely knows that smell, because every Tuesday and Thursday, she and his dad screw all night.
Wow. Twice a week. Good for her.
I don't... How he knows this, I do not know. But I do not envy him for knowing this about his parents. But including this information is a sign of how candid this kid is. And this candidness is further displayed when he calls Tech Toy and tells the tech support worker exactly what happened. So Tech Toy is a Brazilian-based company. They are most well known for bringing Sega consoles to the region, going back as far as the Sega Master System, actually. And they even brought online gaming to Brazil through the Mega Drive. So they had Mega servers to run online gaming for the Brazilian area.
Okay.
And the Mega Drive is what we call Sega Genesis here.
Okay.
Now, Leo, I'm going to call him Leo from now on because I'm not even sure I'm pronouncing his full name correctly. But Leo prefaced his call to Tech Toy by insisting that this was not a prank call. And I know this next part is going to be shocking, but the tech guy laughed at him anyway.
I mean, how could you not?
I know. Like, you can't receive that phone call and not laugh. Like, that's...
You could have at least used the mute button. I mean, come on. Be professional. We all make mistakes.
But I will say, to the credit of the tech support person, he did offer a next step in this kid's quest to clean up the console comm.
Well, that was nice.
And that was to physically take the console into tech support and be honest about what happened.
Ew.
Obviously, this was not an ideal solution for Leo.
No.
And he dreaded the thought of standing in front of the desk in public.
Yeah.
And say, "Oh boy, I came in my Dreamcast."
Probably not the first time it's happened.
I mean, I wonder like how like has anybody before this received like a concern that somebody came in their video game console.
That's why I don't buy pre-owned.
Yeah.
You don't know what that last guy did to me.
Yeah. I mean, you don't want your copy of Crazy Taxi catching VD.
No.
That's for sure. I mean, I've heard of computers getting viruses, but holy shit.
You get herpes from your latest copy.
Oh, God.
Crazy Taxi. That's too crazy.
But anyway, Leo's still desperate for help. You see, he had a wet Dreamcast and it ruined his console in the process. That brings us to our nickname, Gonza Guinha. He was a famous musician in Brazil. A lot of his music was censored by the government before democratization. So he was kind of a rabble rouser type guy, you know, and his music was considered to be the reasoning that the government gave for censoring his music was that it was too aggressive or something. He actually ended up being called a grunge rocker because he was, you know, sort of outspoken against the government before they really experienced democracy, which moving forward did not go so well for them. But anyway, on tour, this guy, he dies in a car wreck. And I couldn't find anything connecting Gonza Guinha to masturbating in any meaningful way. But Leonon says, you know why they're calling me that, right? That accordion player. So I know, so there's a phrase called accordion solo.
Okay.
And that's slang for female masturbation that some people use in some areas. Like, and
I've
so
never heard that one before.
yeah,
Okay.
so like some people will say she's doing an accordion solo, you know, to refer to. Yeah, it's hard.
right.
It's hard to rationalize it.
Yeah, I don't get the connection, but okay.
It's always been specifically for female masturbation. So I wasn't really understanding where he was getting the accordion thing, you know, and I
Yeah, all right.
so I thought maybe I could find a Portuguese phrase
Okay.
that involved accordions and male masturbation. And I was having a lot of trouble finding anything that had anything to do with it. And also the Gonza, I'm probably butchering his name, but Gonza Guinha was not a famous accordion player. He played the acoustic guitar and he was a vocalist.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm like, okay, maybe these kids are just confused as to who he is, you know? And plus, his car wreck, I think he died in 1991. And this took place, you know, in the early 2000s, and these kids are 13 years old. So maybe they're just not familiar with that enough with that musician.
Sure.
But his father's name is Gonzaga.
Okay.
And he is a famous accordion player. And the name Gonza Guinha means little Gonzaga.
Okay.
So the kids may have been more familiar with Gonzaga than with his son, since his son had passed away, but Gonzaga was still alive at the time. So maybe they were calling him Little Gonzaga because of the accordion player. But again, I could not find any information regarding Brazilian slang connecting accordions and masturbation, except for vaguely, kind of tenuously one thing. And there are parts of the Portuguese language that, so like regarding like the motion that you do with an accordion, you know, like the in and out or the bigger and smaller kind of thing. Those there is a word that's associated with accordion playing that it just refers to that motion. And sometimes people will use this phrase like to refer to when their weight is fluctuating too quickly. You know, saying that their weight is tending to accordion, you know.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be unreasonable to think that the nickname had something to do with that motion of using an accordion. But the term goza, or like, and it's very similar to Gonza, you know. So gozar means to enjoy oneself, And this word does have some connections to slang regarding masturbation. So they could have been calling him. So they could have been calling him this name because of the connection with the self-enjoyment or something.
Sure.
But in that case, they should have called him Gozarga, and it'd be a pun and everything, and it's way funnier. But speaking of motions back and forth, Leonon should be glad that this didn't happen in Italy. And this is the part I told you a little earlier about, that I was like, I found it's not, I was reading something that was absolutely not connected with this story.
Okay.
But I had gotten into sort of a rabbit hole of reading about different languages and slang and stuff and dirty words. And the reason why he should be glad that this didn't happen in Italy is because, speaking of that back and forth motion, because of the motion one does with a saw, there's a phrase in Italian that literally means doing yourself a saw, which is like a slang for masturbating, because you're going back and forth, like you're sawing. The best part about this, Bobby, I want you to guess how you say the word saw in Italian.
Oh, I have no idea. I don't know anything about Italian. I don't even know.
The word is saga.
Oh my God. What are the odds of that?
And Lennon sure did himself a Sega.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Oh my God. I couldn't believe it when I read that. Oh, and that was just by chance, just because I kept reading. And I was way far off the beaten path for this story,
Yeah.
And I found
funny.
that, but man, that's fantastic. But so, with nowhere else to turn, Leo finally confessed to his father. He says his father can find a solution to basically anything.
Sure.
And I'm going to read parts from a translated version of the original post that explains how this goes. I said, "Father, for the love of God, you swear to the Lord that if I tell you something, you won't tell anyone else."
That's gotta make you nervous when your kid says something like that. You're like,
Yeah,
"Oh, I don't know."
as a parent, I'd be like, "Oh, fuck, he fucking murdered someone. He
What
murdered
happened?
someone."
Is any of his friends missing? What happened?
Yeah. So his father agrees, right?
Sure.
His
Well,
father
I mean, you
agrees
gotta
to-
find out what the kid has done.
Yeah. Which, I mean, as a parent, you've got to agree.
Yeah.
Even if it's insincere, because you need to make sure this kid's not in trouble. you
Right.
know?
Yeah, you gotta watch out for this kid.
So Leo says, I closed my eyes and said, "Daddy, it was me who broke the video game, but it was unintended. I didn't mean to. I splooged in it."
Oh. And his dad's like, "Oh, thank God."
His father laughs and continues laughing until he has tears.
Yeah.
He is tearing up.
Yeah.
And Leo responds with, "It was unintended. I'm dying of shame, but that's what happened." And his father says that he would find a way to fix it. He did scold Leo for accessing a porn website.
Yeah. He's 13, though. I mean, come on.
Yeah. But then he writes, "Do you know what he did? He told my mother." I was there in the room on the bed playing my Game Boy. I don't know if that's a euphemism or no. He says he was playing Street Fighter 2 on his Game Boy. But when he was playing his Game Boy, thank God it's not a euphemism, because his mother walks in. And she's got this sly smile on her face. And she is hand in hand with her father. And she says, "Leo, your father and I need to talk to you."
Oh, no.
He says, "I think my soul left my body at that moment."
That's always a rough moment. It never goes well for anybody. It's awkward for the parents. It's awkward for the kids.
I don't envy this at all.
No.
I would want nothing to do with this, especially at 13 when you can't take anything seriously anyway.
yeah.
You're either super embarrassed or you're giggling at shit, It's
Mm-hmm.
like nothing. There's no good conversation at that age about
No.
anything serious, especially when it has to do with your sexual health,
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's basically the time you need that talk, though.
Yeah, that's true, because that is the most tumultuous time
Yeah.
for that kind of thing. And so He says, I still can't look my mom in the face.
Yeah.
Then the sexual education section started.
Ugh.
You, Leo, are now becoming a boy. My ears were burning with embarrassment.
Mm-hmm.
He's stopped being a child. His body will start changing. His voice has already started to change. And hair will grow on his body. And my favorite part. My mother also said, when you want to do that, go to the bathroom, son, so you don't run the risk of messing things that you shouldn't. I wanted to explode. After you do that, wash your hands so you don't get sperm on things.
That's good advice. Always wash your hands afterwards, people.
I just love to wash his own mother. Wash your hands so you don't get sperm on things.
Yeah.
Now, I want to say one thing about these parents. They seem like fucking cool parents.
Yeah, I mean, they're trying to help the kid,
Yeah,
you know.
to be able to have a conversation like that, you
Yeah.
know, and to be upfront about it, like that's impressive. You know, I'm kind of proud of these parents. I think he should be thankful for how they handled it. You know, you know, especially like his mother feeling comfortable enough that that she could just say, you know, just wash your hands, that way you're not getting your fucking splooge all over everything. But no, like they were understanding, and they wanted him to feel less uncomfortable about the situation.
And I think the fact that both of them were there might have made a difference.
Yeah, and they were ready to have that talk with
very,
him. You know,
very mature way to handle it.
Yeah, and they definitely had discussed beforehand how to approach it, and I think they handled it really well. As funny as the situation is.
I don't know that there's a good way to do that, because even if as a parent you're comfortable with it, the child's not going to be comfortable with it, and it's just a very awkward situation.
Yeah.
But I think they did a pretty good job.
Yeah. And so throughout this thing, so a big concern of his was, you know, obviously his parents not finding out exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Until he finally caved and confessed to his dad.
Yeah.
But
must
also
have a good family, because he was comfortable enough to talk to his dad about it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and also he wanted to find a way to fix the Dreamcast so that his mother wasn't mad anymore, you know.
Yeah.
And one of the suggestions that he was given by the tech toy people was to use one of those lens cleaning CDs, you know, that you put in. They play like a bunch of songs from different countries, and you just listen to it while the brush is doing its thing.
Okay.
And he says the issue with that is that that's for getting like dirt and dust off, not goo that's already dried onto the lens.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good start, maybe. I don't know. Run it a couple times, and I don't know.
Yeah, it might be a good place to start, you know, with that, because you don't. One of the reasons why you don't like. Obviously, you don't ever want to smudge up the lens on a disc reader.
No.
But another thing is that there is a small mechanism in most disc readers that will move the lens to read different parts and to, you know, move into like, you know, it has a very fine-tuned motor in it that kind of moves it around and stuff. And in fact, that was one of the problems with PlayStation 3 and why so many of them went bad is because it had to have the lens moving in different places to read like a CD, a DVD, a PlayStation 2 disc, PlayStation 1 disc, PlayStation 3 discs, you know. So eventually that little motor with the thing that moved the lens around, whatever exactly it was, ends up wearing out. And you don't want to go and start scrubbing on that thing because you're going to fuck it up, you know. And the thing is, like, if you got dried splooge on it, you gotta. There's gonna be some scraping going on, you know.
That's a serious clean.
So one thing I think that people who followed the story were wondering the most was whether or not he got his Dreamcast repaired, whether he or not he got it working again.
I hope he did.
Well, his father finally takes it and drops it off at the tech center to have it fixed, and the tech people say that they have to completely replace the whole lens part
Yeah.
of it. And at that time, Tectoy, who was publishing the console at that time, had an updated version of the lens because apparently the old one had, like they have a better version of it now.
Sure.
And that's the kind that they have to get in. And it cost like a little more than, quite a bit more than half of what the original console cost to just buy a full new one. And the last thing that Leo posted about his situation was that he was thinking about just ordering a Japanese one because they were supposed to be better than the Tectoy ones. So,
Yeah.
But anyway, that's the story.
Poor kid. A little accident. Now he's got to explain it to everybody. Mom, Dad, freaking toy tech.
this is one of the worst parts. So he had to explain it to his parents.
Yep.
He had to explain it to the Tectoy guy that he called. Mm-hmm. And this conversation
It took a lot of bravery all on its own. You call up customer support and tell them what you did.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be able to do that.
And that's the thing. He's very candid about this whole thing, but I think also because he's very panicky about it, and he wants a solution.
Well, I mean, you said $500, right? Roughly.
Yeah,
for
yeah.
the
It was
Dreamcast?
more than $500. Yeah.
Damn, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, for the one that
I would want to fix it too,
Yeah.
because your parents went out of their way, really spent a lot of money on this thing for you, and you one little 2-second accident.
Yeah, because like it costs, I think like it was like $750 Brazilian at that time, which after inflation is like almost 2,500. And then when
I'd be trying to clean it too.
when you translate when you convert that to U.S. dollars, it's a little over $500.
Okay.
So. But that's a lot of money to spend.
I wouldn't want to just throw away $500.
Yeah,
because
no.
he didn't have it for very long.
And that's why his mom was so pissed. She was like,
"We
I
just got you this thing."
Yeah, she was like, I can't believe I would buy you this expensive toy and you would break it in less than a month.
Yeah.
She was pissed.
Yeah, I would be too.
But but what's really terrible, he had to explain it to all these people. And then his mom goes and tells all of his aunts.
Oh, Mom.
And
why?
And his grandmother, who later confronts him about it.
Oh, poor kid. It was a mistake. He's 13, man.
Yeah.
It happens.
I know. And that might be what his mother was thinking, but the rest of his family is probably not going to be as understanding as she was,
No, probably not.
Man. All right.
Poor kid.
Well, that was... I was between two different titles for this one. Mm-hmm. One was Memecast, and the other was Wet Dreamcast, and I decided to go with Wet Dreamcast.
Yeah, that's definitely the better one. Poor kid.
Yep. Thank you all so much for listening. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.